Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back with another video from Teching 101, another One Piece video, and we are checking out the water fruit, why it could exist. Find this quite interesting because obviously, water is like the biggest weakness to devil fruits. Well, seawater anyway. And for someone to be able to turn into water would be quite an advantageous thing to be able to do, especially out at sea. You know, say if like pirate ships are fighting each other in that. Imagine just being able to go whoop, water and then be able to control it in that. That would be amazing. But anyway, let's see what Teching 101 has to say on this whole water fruit theory, shall we?
Could a Logia-type water devil fruit actually exist in the One Piece story?
Could it?
I wonder about that. Now, this is a theory that's been around for a while, and it's usually been ridiculed whenever it gets brought up, because most people that react to it are always, no, that's a stupid theory, because water is the natural weakness of devil fruit users, and a Logia fruit that allows you to turn into water wouldn't make any sense. Well, I think it could, and I don't think you would have to break any rules to do so.
Interesting,
Okay, so first let's address the elephant in the room. Water is the natural weakness of devil fruit users, therefore you cannot have a water fruit. Well, let's look at that. Water does indeed take away a devil fruit user's ability if they're submerged in it, and they're basically helpless when they're completely submerged by water. They can't even move their bodies in that state. But that's the key. They have to be submerged by the water. It's not like all types of water are damaging to devil fruit users. If that was the case, the 4Kids dub would actually make sense by having the Marines going around carrying fucking squirt guns on their back. Just, you know, shoot the freaking devil fruit users with water and then, oh no, I've been rendered helpless. No, running water such as rain and stuff like from a fire hose or something couldn't actually hurt a devil fruit user unless they actually were submerged in it. And even then, it depends on how much they're submerged in. If they just stuck their feet in like a bucket of water or something, it probably wouldn't hinder them all that much.
I thought it was like if it was moving
when they get
water,
to about halfway up their body, okay,
like
at that point you might be seeing devil fruit users having their abilities weakened in some form, such as the case with Califa when she was taking a bath when, you know, Nami came in on her. You know, I think Califa even mentioned in that moment that her devil fruit was like weakened while she's in that state. However, she was able to summon bubbles, so even in a weakened state, she was still kind of able to still use her devil fruit ability to some degree, just not on the full level. Finally, when a devil fruit user is completely submerged by water, they are rendered helpless. When they get dropped into the ocean, they can't move, and they basically drown. It's important to mention that the water doesn't actually kill them. It's usually the consequences of not being able to move, being stuck underwater, and not being able to breathe.
Wasn't there after Zoe, wasn't the devil fruit user that was a fisherman? There we go. Sorry, there we go. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Because he can still breathe underwater.
Being a fisherman.
Also, it's important to mention that this weakness is constant across every devil fruit user we've seen in the story. Now, some devil fruit users, such as Aokiji, are able to nullify this effect indirectly by, like, freezing the water, so they don't actually get submerged by it. But that doesn't change the fact that if they actually submerge themselves, their powers still get nullified the same as every other devil fruit user. Like when Aokiji was taking a bath during film Z, he mentioned his powers were, you know, weakened.
I've not seen any of the films, but you guys have been saying that I should check out the movies, like, because they're meant to be really good.
Falling into it, but if he did, it would still
especially
have the
with,
same
what was it,
effect.
Kubo's actually involved with some of them as well. It's like,
who's still able to have the power to swim despite having a devil fruit ability, but even then, he can't actually swim in water. Just pretty much not water. With that being said, I don't think it's impossible for a water fruit to exist as long as it adheres to the natural weaknesses of every other devil fruit. It doesn't make you immune to falling in the water. Think of it this way. As long as you're on dry land, you can use the effects of the water no Mi the same as you would with any other devil fruit that allows you to turn into an element, like Ace's Mera no Mi. You can turn into water on dry land, and you can use all the effects of the fruit. Maybe you can shoot out like water bullets or use some special effect or something with it. But even so, if you fall into the water, just because you have the water fruit,
it's a bit confusing though, isn't it? I mean, I get what he's saying.
Water, and your abilities get nullified the more you get submerged. Another way to look at it is when you start getting submerged in the water and your devil fruit power begins to weaken, you wouldn't be able to turn into water at all. You'd just be like a normal human that's drowning. It's not like, oh no, I'm being covered by water, I'll just turn into water and then, you know,
you completely lose yourself in that surely as well.
Be like, oh no, I'm halfway covered in water, I can't turn into water to escape, so therefore I'm fucked. So as long as the water fruit adheres to the common weaknesses of all devil fruits, as well as all the traits that devil fruits exhibit, I don't see any reason why it couldn't exist. Also, think of it this way. We've gotten a lot of rules rules with devil fruits throughout the story,
Yeah.
right? One such rule was one person cannot consume more than one devil fruit. This was explained in the Ennie's Lobby arc as well as I think in an
But then
SBS
Blackbeard
Oda
somehow
talked
has
about
done
it.
that.
If one person tries to consume more than one devil fruit,
Yeah,
then their
they'll
bodies will explode.
Yeah.
So it was already set in the fandom, like, oh, okay, that's why people aren't running around with more than one devil fruit. Until,
Blackbeard
was a fucking thing.
So
and
there
that's
are...
why that scene in the manga was so terrifying.
Yeah.
Because it broke a rule that was already established.
Yeah.
We thought it was
so
impossible.
Who's to say that like other things can't be?
Blackbeard, through some method, managed to have not only his Yami Yami no Mi, but also absorb
And
the power
people
of
are like
Whitebeard's
getting
Guru no Mi.
different
And that's
powers
why he was
spread
fucking
around.
terrifying. Because he broke a rule. Now, this isn't a set rule. It actually hasn't been explained anywhere in the One Piece story that a water fruit could not exist.
Yeah.
But most of the fandom just assumed that it would be impossible. How great would that be for Oda to turn it on his head? And you know that Oda would love to do that, because he's done that shit before, you know? So at one point in the story, we find out that a water fruit exists, and all the fandom's freaking out, as well as the characters in the story are freaking out, because they just assume that just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But it's never been clearly flat out stated in the story that it couldn't exist. So I think this would be a perfect point for Oda to surprise the fan base at some point along the story and strike some fear into us, the same way as fear got struck into us by Blackbeard absorbing 2 devil fruit abilities.
That was
so
something.
Next up,
like,
I'm actually going to talk about some devil fruits that already exhibit some effects that are similar to water,
Oh, okay, go on.
as well as fruits that pretty much already use water as the basis for their powers, okay? Case in point, Monet from the Punk Hazard arc.
Yeah.
Monet was a Logia, and she had the Yuki Yuki no Mi, which allowed her to turn into snow. Last time I checked,
very similar.
Snow was fucking water, just
Yeah.
frozen.
Yeah.
But it's still water. It still has the same chemical compositions and shit. So technically, she has the power of water at her disposal. Now, that's not to say that a water fruit couldn't exist. It's just in a different form. But I think the fact that she's using water as a weapon in a way of speaking, just not in the liquid form, I still think confirms that there could exist a water fruit in its actual liquid state. Also, we have Aokiji. Now, Aokiji's a little weird because he has a fruit called the Hi no Mi, which is the chili fruit. It's not actually called the ice fruit. One way of looking at it, and there's no transition either way. There's no, like, he turns into water first and then freezes it.
Yeah,
he turns
just
directly
straight
from
up
his
ice.
physical body into ice. Now, remember, the human body is mostly made up of water anyway, so it's possible
And he travels
that his
around
ability
on
might
water,
just be,
freezing it.
the power of cold itself, that he's able just to freeze the moisture in his body as well as all the moisture around him and just skip immediately from his physical body to ice, and that he can manipulate ice itself, you know, like he can summon like spears of ice and shit and chuck it around, but even so, ice is still fucking water.
Yeah.
Also, you have to consider that water isn't the only liquid that exists. There's been other devil fruits that have used a liquid as a power. So even if there isn't a water fruit somewhere in the story, there could exist a character that has a devil fruit that has a liquid power that pretty much gives you all the properties of water anyway. Probably the biggest example here, a canon in the story, is Karibo. Karibo had the ability of Numa no Mi, which basically summoned mud, but it also had a secondary effect which allowed him to store seemingly an infinite amount of things in his body. He became a swamp man. That's something else too. If the water fruit did exist, it might have abilities that go beyond just normal water. It might have maybe purifying
because depending on the
abilities,
user as well,
healing
isn't it? You can adapt your
other
devil
things
fruit
that
like
exist.
in different
Just
ways.
because, you know, Karibo had the mud fruit or the swamp fruit, that doesn't immediately mean that, oh yeah, you're a swamp man. Therefore, obviously, you would be able to contain an infinite amount of shit in your stomach. So Oda takes some liberties with this and extends it beyond. Same thing with the Hobby no Mi, how it was able to turn people into toys and erase people's memories, which seemed like two completely different powers.
But somehow it's the same thing.
License with this. Maybe give us a water fruit that does have the ability to manipulate, you know, moisture and water in its liquid form, but also has another effect that would maybe be more dangerous or more helpful depending on what it is. Also, just introduced in the story was Charlotte Galette, the Minister of Butter, one of Big Mom's daughters, that has an unnamed devil fruit that allows her to manipulate liquid or fluid in some way to bind her opponents, as she did with Nami. We don't know what the devil fruit's class is or what it's called.
Interesting.
But it clearly can manipulate liquid and fluid in some way, shape, or form. We also have a few movie and filler characters that have exhibited abilities that are sort of similar to
Okay,
this.
go on.
We had Gasparade from the 4th One Piece movie that had the power of the Ame Ame no Mi, which allowed him to turn into a candy syrup kind of substance.
Oh, weird.
It's also important to notice that Ame could also mean rain as well as candy in the One Piece universe, so I don't know if they were trying to go and do something with that, but it's interesting to note. Also, we had the Honey Queen in the 2nd One Piece movie that had the power of the Toro Toro no Mi, which allowed her to turn into a type of jelly substance, but it had consistency of water at times in the movie. Now, you might be thinking that these examples don't matter because they're from fillers and movies, but they actually do, because remember, whenever a filler or a movie character uses a devil fruit, they have to get that checked by Oda first. They go to him and basically say, hey, we were thinking about using this devil fruit for this character.
That's sick, right, and then he just gives it the okay.
Oda will say yes, or he'll say no, I plan on doing that later in the story. Now, movies and filler don't really abide by, the laws of One Piece. They can kind of do their own thing a lot of times, and a lot of stuff happens in them that is kind of wacky, so you'd think a water fruit would be like the perfect opportunity there. You could mess around with that in the land of movies and filler where canon doesn't really apply. But they might have went to Oda, I'm not saying they did, but they might have went to Oda, and they might have said, hey, we want to use this fruit.
And he said, actually, no, I plan on doing that further down, right? Right.
Something to that effect.
Interesting.
Finally, before I go, I'd like to discuss a theory that sometimes goes hand in hand with the water fruit theory, and that is, if the fruit did exist, who would have it in the One Piece story? And most people point to Shanks, because Shanks is like one of the most powerful characters in One Piece.
But we don't know what the freaking hell he does!
And his devil fruit is unconfirmed if he even has one. Now, I don't put a lot of stock into that theory. I don't think it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, yeah, what if he doesn't even have a devil fruit?
I would really prefer Shanks to not have a devil fruit power.
Yeah, he'd just be so OP just by himself,
the fact
yeah.
that he attained the status of Yonko, and that,
like Mihawk. Like, Mihawk doesn't have a devil fruit, and he's one of the 7 warlords.
Goldie Roger's crew, and that he's just wicked powerful with hockey and his swordsmanship. He's so powerful, he doesn't need a devil fruit. And he became one of the most revered pirates in the world without one. I think that would speak volumes more about Shanks than him just having an OP devil fruit ability, and that's the reason everyone's scared of him. But I just wanted to mention that because a lot of people bring it up. So with that being said, what do you guys think?
That would be a cool reveal, though, as well. Like, yeah.
It's okay if you still think it doesn't exist. I just think that just throwing out the fact that water is the natural weakness to devil fruits, and therefore there can't be a water devil fruit, I just don't think that holds a lot of water.
Haha.
Okay, I'll slap myself for that pun, I'm sorry. No, I need another one, that was pretty bad. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, as long as it still has the same weakness to water, I don't understand why it couldn't exist. If that's the only thing you gotta go on, I think that's kind of shaky at best. Who do you think would have the water fruit if it did exist? Maybe it's a character that's not even introduced yet. What kind of abilities would it have? I mean, certainly you would
Shanks just turn up as water would be kind of cool.
Maybe turn into like a vortex or something like that. And hey, here's another thing. Like I said, most of the body is composed of water.
So that'd be really OP.
Maybe you'd be able to manipulate humans. We're kind of going Avatar: The Last Airbender bloodbending with it.
Yeah,
but it's still possible to do that. Maybe it has a secondary ability, like I said, an ability that's not very obvious. Water is usually a sign for purity and stuff in some cultures, or healing, so maybe it has something to do with that. Man, healing water. I'm still going with Avatar: The Last Airbender here with water bending.
I need to watch Avatar, man, because every anime,
what do you guys think about the theory? Comment below and all that shit.
Seen
like, subscribe for some more One Piece theories. Thank you guys for watching. This will be Teching 101 signing out.
Yeah, it's an interesting theory. I think it's cool. Like, again, he makes a valid point that, like, maybe they wanted to use the water fruit in said movies, but Kubo's gone, actually, no, I plan on doing that at some point, so please don't. Which is an interesting theory in itself. So yeah, that's cool. I don't know what to check out next. My whole week has just gone crazy because we've had to close my work. So I'm kind of like, I've got a little bit more time now before Christmas. So positives, negatives. But yeah, interesting theory, and I plan on checking out some more videos, and I think I'm going to check out... Oh, I don't know. We'll see how the week goes. Thanks to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of the video, I upload links in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month for all that helps support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for that, and thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe, and leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch us in future videos, and I'll see you guys next time.